Welcome back to Real Clear Politics on SiriusXM. I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of RCP. Joined now by Karrin Taylor Robson. She is the Republican candidate for governor of Arizona. Karrin, thanks for joining me. Appreciate your time.
Tom, thank you for having me.
So you ran for this office last time around, and you're giving it another go. And I wonder, first of all, how's the campaign going thus far? And what takeaways did you have from the experience last time around? What have you learned, and how are things maybe a little different this time?
Well, things are a lot different. This time I have President Trump's complete and total endorsement, which is a game changer. I'm proud to have it. And, he knows that I will have his back. He knows that I supported him in 2016 and 2020 and 2024. And he knows Arizona is a red state. And with the right candidate, we will win, and we will take the governor's office back from the radical Katie Hobbs. But in the last, I learned a lot in the first campaign. I was a newbie in the political arena, and crisscrossed this state, met a lot of people, and have a lot of friends now that I didn't have before in the first campaign. And so we're gonna build off of that. I did 44 events just last month in June, and we're still over a year away from the Arizona primary. So things are much, much different, and we feel good. Every room we go into, we're picking up support, and people like what they're hearing.
Now, you mentioned the endorsement. So Andy Biggs, Congressman Andy Biggs, got in this race and also received Trump's endorsement, which is kind of a unique situation to have dual endorsement here. And it looks like from the latest poll that I saw, which was Noble Predictive Insights at the end of May, that you're leading by about 7 points, but 37% of Republicans in that poll were undecided. And so what's the differentiation point between you and Congressman Biggs, and how are you going to win over a majority of those 37% who are currently weighing their options?
Yeah, well, first, President Trump has done dual endorsements in other races. In fact, he did a dual endorsement here in Arizona in 24. But the key to being successful is to be able to appeal to the Trump independents. President Trump won Arizona by nearly 6 points in 2024. And, the next Republican on the ticket in Arizona lost by 3. So there was a 9-point swing. And so it is critical for the nominee to be able to appeal to those Trump independents. And I am that candidate. Bill Buckley, who I was a fan of, said, the party needs to nominate the most conservative candidate who can win a general election. And I am that candidate.
And so tell me about Arizona. What are the issues that are driving this race, obviously in the primary, but also in the general election? And how are they any different from what we're seeing at the national level? Or are there issues that are specific to Arizona that people are really in your ear about as you travel the state?
Well, there are a few specific issues, but generally the issues that Americans are concerned about are the issues that Arizonans are concerned about. The border in particular, border safety and security, local law enforcement. People want law and order. And, if we can't get that right, nothing else matters. And President Trump has done a phenomenal job of shutting down the border. When I ran last time, every visit to the border was, you just saw what looked like a landfill and busloads of illegals crossing the border into the waiting arms of the Border Patrol. The times I've been down there this cycle, just in the last couple months, it's literally crickets. There is nothing going on at the border. President Trump didn't need a new law. He didn't need anything. He needed the leadership and the will to do it, and he did it. But I will continue to have his back as he continues to keep our border safe and secure. And I think that's on the top of everybody's mind in this country. Also, and President Trump has illustrated this and exposed this, I should say, is the waste, fraud, and abuse in government today is rampant. And it's not just happening at the federal level, it's happening at the state level. And the voters of Arizona are concerned about that. And so day one, when I'm governor, we will also have a governor's DOGE effort. And I will lead that, and we will root out the waste, fraud, and abuse in the system. So that's critically important. And then education. Of course, we have decades of DEI, Marxist indoctrination that made its way into the bowels of our education system. And while we've made some strides to get rid of it, That is going to be a focus of mine. We have to get rid of the Marxist indoctrination of our school kids. We also have to do a better job of educational outcomes. And people on the campaign trail have heard me talk a lot about third grade reading, which is a key indicator of someone's success in life. And as a country, we're failing there. And the state of Arizona is failing in that regard, and we're going to fix that. And the voters of Arizona, the parents of Arizona, they care about these things, and those are the kitchen table items that I'm going to be focused on. And then of course our economy. Coming from a business background, I know what it takes, to make an economy tick, and having a low tax, low regulatory environment is key to that. We have a tremendous affordability problem in Arizona, and somebody with a legal and real estate background, I know something about how to deliver, housing to a market that desperately needs it. And our governor is, she essentially created a growth moratorium, a housing moratorium, at a time when affordability is a critical concern of Arizona families. So that's what we'll be focusing on, border security and the safety of our communities, getting rid of DEI in our schools, third grade reading, and then of course the economy and making life better for Arizona families.
You mentioned your background. So this is you haven't held public office before, but you were part of appointed to the Board of Regents by former Governor Doug Ducey, and your background as a lawyer. I mean, how do you think those experiences will translate into being the chief executive of the entire state?
Well, I've gotten a lot of experience and a lot of perspective on things from education to the economy. I currently serve on the Creighton University Board of Trustees. I serve on the American Council of Trustees and Alumni. So I have a bird's eye view into the issues that are plaguing higher education today and what it takes to fix them. I also served on a K-12 school board when my kids were going through school. So I have a lot of passion for education issues, and then a lot of expertise, like I said, on the economy and what do you need to do to get the economy going? And number one is get government out of the way, cut taxes, cut regulations whenever and wherever possible, just like President Trump is doing at the federal level. As a business person, he knows how to get things done. He signed both sides of paychecks. He built budgets and managed budgets. That's what I've done, and that's what I will bring to the job as a chief executive officer of the state of Arizona.
You mentioned, I mean, this is a state that, had Republican leadership for a long time with John McCain. I mentioned Doug Ducey, and it had sort of gone blue a little bit, and Trump sort of won it back by a sizable margin in 2024. And yet, you've got a Ruben Gallego as senator and obviously Katie Hobbs. So what is assuming you win the nomination, you're in a general election setting, what's the brief against Katie Hobbs? What's the argument for why voters should kick her out and put you in?
Well, I believe, Arizona is a red state. It's a conservative state. It doesn't look like that on paper right now, but candidates matter. And back to my earlier quote of Bill Buckley, as Republicans, we have to nominate the most conservative candidate that can win in a general election. In Arizona, our electorate is divided somewhat evenly, a third, a third, a third. The Republicans have a little bit of an edge, but you have to be able to appeal to the Trump independents, or you're not going to win a general election in Arizona. And that's the key to this, is appealing to a broader base of support, just like President Trump did in 2024. So he proved it could be done. And so I plan to do the same thing and appeal to not only conservative Republicans, but the Trump independents.
Well, but what about Katie Hobbs? I mean, what has she done wrong? I mean, what are your lines of attack on her? Why do you think voters, if they are, I don't even know what her approval rating is. I did see in the latest polls she's getting about 40 to 41% support. So what's the problem with Katie Hobbs?
Well, that would take about an hour.
How much time do we have? Okay.
Yeah, but just to highlight a few, in fact, a report just came out. Arizona under Governor Ducey was number one in the nation for job growth. Report that just came out has us now at 47th in the country. We had a net job loss last year alone under her watch. She created this growth moratorium, and so our affordability issues for Arizona families are going through the roof. People cannot afford a house, and why she did what she did is inexplicable, and we will fix that. She's under investigation by her own party, the attorney general of her own party, for corruption, for pay-to-play schemes. And so the list goes on and on. Even a member of her administration was caught for human smuggling, wearing a state uniform, smuggling humans across the Mexican border. I mean, it's unacceptable, the things that have gone on under her leadership or failure of leadership. She has vetoed over 400 bills. She ran on a platform of being a bipartisan governor. She's been anything but that. This year alone, she vetoed 150 bills sent to her by our Republican legislature.
Well, we've got to leave it there. We're out of time. Karrin Taylor Robson, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Stay safe on the campaign trail.
Thank you, Tom.
And that's going to do it for us. On behalf of Andy and Carl, I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of RCP. You've been listening to Real Clear Politics on SiriusXM. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.